Why Don Lemon's arrest was lawful, and why freedom of the press has limits. Let's be really clear about this, what it is and what it is not. Don Lemon was not arrested for being a journalist. He was arrested for where he went and what he did. Law enforcement doesn't arrest people based on their job titles. They arrest people based on their conduct. And if somebody enters a private residence or your home or church without permission, disrupts lawful gatherings, ignores lawful orders to leave, or interrupts people who are illegally assembled, then probable cause exists. And Don Lemon should have known this. Journalism is not a magic cloak. The law doesn't ask who you are, it asks what you did. Now, I'm going to talk about the freedom of the press, because this is where people get it twisted and they get it all wrong. The First Amendment is extremely powerful, but it's not absolute. It protects publications and expressions. It does not protect lawbreaking. Courts have made this clear for decades. The press has no greater right to access than the general public, like me and you. This means journalists cannot trespass where the public is excluded. They cannot disrupt private events. They can't ignore lawful orders. They cannot claim immunity from natural laws that apply to everybody else. Freedom of the press exists to prevent government censorship, not to grant immunity from arrests. And this brings us up to the most critical point, is the place of worship. Churches, synagogues, mosques, and temples are private property. They are protected spaces under the Constitution. People inside them have a right to worship freely without harassment, intimidation, or disruption, including disruption disguised as journalism. Walking into a place of worship uninvited, especially during services, is not reporting, it's intrusion. The law protects religious assemblies precisely because they are very vulnerable to intimidation. Courts have long recognized these spaces that deserve heightened protection, not less. There is no constitutional exemption that says journalists may ignore trespass laws, disorderly conduct statutes, or protections from religious worship. If the same behavior would get a private citizen arrested, it gets a journalist arrested too. That's not oppression, that's equal application of the law. And this matters, because if journalists were allowed to violate the law under the banner of freedom of speech or freedom of press, we would undermine private property rights, erode religious liberties, create a privileged class above the law, and destroy public trust in legitimate journalism. The First Amendment protects speech, not disruption, not trespass, and non-intimidation. Don Lemon wasn't arrested because of his words. He was arrested because the freedom of the press does not mean freedom from the law. And when it comes to places of worship, the Constitution protects the people inside, not the intruder with a camera and a microphone.